Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana Garcia Orellana from Ecuador. I'm a doctoral student at the University of Valencia in Spain and associated lecturer at the University of Azuay in Cuenca, Ecuador. This study is linked with a paper presented to the Sustainable Research Journal that also organized this conference. The title of this study is about the voices of resistance in the face of the nature, women against the extractivism in the south of Ecuador. This study wants to show the crucial role of women in the growing struggles and resistance against extractivism, and in the defense of water, territory in the Ecuadorian province of Azuay, particular in three places, three cantons as we call it, is Cuenca, Girón, and Nabón. All these places are located in the south of Ecuador, in the province of Azuay. So we want to try to identify and examine resistance strategies from a feminist political ecology perspective that we base in this theoretical framework. The data was collected through interviews with women in 5 rural and 4 urban collectives or social movements, and also we try to find their participation using the power and interest matrix. So as introduction, we can see that the women from a political ecological perspective have historical faced ecological distribute conflicts, particularly in Latin America, revealing this power dynamics, revealing the dynamics of appropriation, material perspective, natural resources and work, and global ecology inequalities. And also I think this is the base of the idea of development that become homogeneous than the Occidental development, no? So that they not fit in another cultural views, in other cosmovisions around the world, so it have conflict to adapt this homogeneous vision. So for example, the modernization theory, which emphasizes the industrialization, continues to be predominant in the global geopolitical scenario. However, this perspective, for example, rooted in the imperialism, patriarchy, and environmental and sustainability, so it's based on the exploitation of both humans and natural resources, which has triggered a global crisis due to excessive consumption of resources. In this context, mining has taken a leading role in the economic growth and sustainable development in the Latin American region, due to the global expansion of extraction projects. For example, in the period from 1990 to 2001, 12 of the 25 largest capital investments in mining in the world were made in South America, according to Bevington. Specifically, currently in Ecuador, there are 249 large-scale mining concessions that aspire to become mines. In the province of Azuay, this is our case study, there are 2 projects with advanced exploration for gold extraction. They call Rio Blanco in Molleturo and Loma Larga in Quinsacocha. So this, due to this large wave of mining investment, social mobilization and conflicts have been increased in recent years. Claims about access to land, environment protection, and water supply come particularly from indigenous and peasant population. And also there are considered as poor and marginalized groups who, through collective and participatory actions, seek to defend their territory and natural resources. In this context, this ecological activism arises as a response to the inequalities caused by the incorrect use of national resources. And also here, the women become the main defenders of environmentals and the rights of the nature, a situation that places them as the main victims of this systemic injustice that generates a global pattern. Okay, as the main theory framework that we use in this study is the feminist political ecology, because it's as an intersectional theory and practice of feminists, I think, and it fits because it seeks global gender justice, equal distribution of resources, food sovereignty, communitarism, interspecies justice, the colonial practices, indigenous rights, etc. So it's important to arise to recover the central idea of the study of conflicts between those who attacks the earth territory and those who defend it from the commitment to reinvent and to remake these territories, and these two visions in conflict. So women resistance in the territories where the expansion of natural resources extraction is taking place in Latin America is reflected in the violence of exercised on their bodies and territories, understood as a form of a structural violence that highlights the complex of intersection of colonial, patriarchal, and neoliberal system of oppression. And this is very important that the women have a fundamental role, since ecofeminists explain the connection that exists between women and the care of the environment, thus linking feminist environmental struggles, and that's why the role of the women in water defense groups daily challenges structural power through a continuous struggle against change in their way of life, their environment, their land, and their water. In the struggle to guarantee rights, especially in the face of the effects generated by the extractive projects, environmental and nature defenders from indigenous communities or rural communities experience multiple forms of violence, since the struggle is seen and considered as an opposition to a discourse from the state, from the government, as development, as growth, and state policy. And specifically in the province of Azuay, where this study is taking place, in the last decade, several rural and urban groups joined together to make their demands heard, and also generate resistance to extractive companies in favor of the conservation of their ancestral territories and the protection of the vital liquid that is water. Likewise, in the last 3 years, the judicial system in Ecuador has witnessed the increase in a judicial process motivated by the violation of the rights of indigenous and rural people and social movement to participate in the decision of extractive projects. And this is very important to take into account, that they use the legal path in order to protect the same mechanism that the state used, that is a legal path, also are using with the social movements, are also using this judicial process in order to defend the territory. So the strategies are very interesting. Regarding to the methodology, a qualitative study was used with an ethnographic approach, will allow to us to understand the process of resistance of women engaged mining, understanding the resistant processes, experience, motivation, and strategies implemented to defend the water and territory. And also a semi-structural interview technique was applied, considered as a data collection technique, and also allowing the interviewer to prepare some thematic lines that guide the interview. The step 3 was the interview was applied to a sample of 9 women actively involved in the struggle against extractivism in the cantons of Girón, Nabón, and Cuenca, selected through a convenient sample. And also this number was determined by the data saturation, since the responses obtained began to be repeat and did not provide more new information to the study, which indicates that an adequate level of deep and exhaustiveness was reached. The participants are community leaders, activists, and women of various ages and social roles, belonging to 5 rural women's collective and 4 urban women's collective. They were invited to be interviewed about their participation in the struggle and resistance for water, territory, and nature. All participants identify themselves as mestiza and have an average of age of 39 years. 6 belonging to the Cuenca canton, that is Tarquia and Molleturo, 2 to the Nabón canton, that is Tamboloma and Cochapata, and 1 to the Girón canton. All participants belonging to the community and social organization in resistance for nature, for example, Sinchihuarmi, Rio Blanco Community, Illapamba Community, Cerro del Mozo Defense Collective, Women's Council of Cuenca, Cerro del Mozo Defenses Collective, and Yes Unidos Movement. As we see, rural women refers to the campesino or campesina. It mainly is the people that is not indigenous but live in the countryside. It is rural women that work in the agricultural sector, mainly in a small scale. So this is why we call in this codification we put campesina, because it's not the same as peasant that we call in English. And also the Cañari, we put also Cañari, that is an indigenous ethnic group located in the province of Azuay. This is considered as the one of the oldest or ancient indigenous group, but not all of the participants were indigenous. They are rural women and also indigenous women. The data obtained were analyzed using the content analysis technique, and also we had the support of the software Atlas D 2023, and was used in which codification, categorization, relationship networks, and conceptual maps of the interview data were established, which allow us a better interpretation of our findings. As a result that we find about the motivations that drive Azuay women to resist and protect water territory is mainly the link between the territory and their identity. So caring for the territory allows for the integral preservation of their identity, taking shape in the place where they live and reflect in the space and landscapes, with a strong emotional charge that shapes their memory and identity. So it's a very important link to the territory with identity. Also, one of the interviewers said, literally, the territory is conceived not only as a geographical space, but rather as having a relevant symbolic meaning linked to the community space. It is a space of community, and above all, this is a space that reflects the identity and logic of a community. Therefore, the territory is seen beyond the geographical and landscape point of view. It is a space of which we are a constitutive part based on the lived experience that generate identity. So these results show the symbolic and material relationship that rural women establish with the territory, and how this relationship underpins their resistance to extractivism and patriarchy. The motivations that drive the Azuay women to resist and protect water and land from the extractivist model are framed in their deep-rooted emotional connection with the land and nature, as they recognize the importance of protecting these resources to maintain a dignified life on the planet. Their resistance is based on values of solidarity, respect, and mutual care. They seek to build a more just, equitable, and supportive society in harmony with nature, where the rights of all people are recognized and and the preservation of the environment is guaranteed. Okay, regarding to the results about the resistance strategy of the women of Azuay, the women of this region that was interviewed, the community is aware of the multiple dimensions of mining activity, not only in terms of the exploitation of natural resources. They were aware about the creation of new power relation and territorial dynamics have joined together to protect their sovereignty and their rights. So this historical resistance has deep roots in the indigenous communities, which have defined nature for centuries. Among the main strategies used to resist is the strengthening of ties between urban and rural communities, highlight the importance of natural resources as part of collective identity, and it is very important because transcends like the indigenous identity, because the urban people also emphasize this kind of protection of water. So it is very interesting that ties the urban and rural, because the cities are more modernized, have more another way of life, another vision of development that also sometimes have struggles with the indigenous vision, for example. But in this time, it's very interesting that the urban and rural social movements join and recognize the importance of caring for water and territory as an integral part of the identity of this community. So, and also the role of the women in the preserving this identity is recognized, as well as in the building strong community ties. And therefore, training and also education in environmental issues from the earliest age involving girls in community issues and environmental leadership is essential, because working for the environmental is a very hard task. Another strategy identified is the organization of communities to pressure and resist the entry of transnational companies, seeking support from other organizations and mobilizing citizens. In this collective action highlights the importance of women's leadership in social mobilization and the defense of their territories. In addition, the extractivist capitalist model is questioned, and alternatives are sought that do not depend on the exploitation of natural resources. Despite the difficulties, they have managed to partially stop the exploitation of natural resources. It means that both cases, Rio Blanco and Quimsacocha, are paralyzed or stopped, are in standby, the exploration and also the exploitation, because of the resistance and the judicialization process that apply the social movements. And also the process in which negatively impacts the quality of quantity of water that we face in those 2 months. We have a power outrage due to this. So we face a lot of power outage due to drought. So mainly we have between 8 to 14 hours without electricity, because there are no raining days for 118 days. So I think this problem, this climate change, also recognizes by the urban people and also the urban social movements that is very important to join together to work for the environmental protection. Also, as the final result or the final thing about the results is the collective mobilization is the key. Using strategies such as creation of support networks with local and international organizations, peace works, vigils, and peaceful actions that make visible the importance of water for community identity and also for well-being. In addition, it's important to say that the collective mobilization lead alternative projects such as a community tourism and crafts, selling crafts, sharing this kind of experiences, tourism, which respect nature and promote sustainable development. These women not only defend water but also question the extractivist capitalist model, advocating for a fairer system that prioritizes environmental and social justice backed by constitutional rights. As a conclusion, I think in response to the research questions, the main motivation are deeply rooted in their emotional connection with nature and territory. So women feel this connection, this as identity, and also which they are considered essential to guarantee a dignified life for themselves and their communities. Water as a vital resource is perceived not only as a physical element, but as a key component of their collective identity. So protecting it also implies preserving the roots and traditional ways of life. In terms of strategies, these women have carried out various actions that include social mobilizations such as peace walks, vigils, and creation of networks, like as I said, between rural and urban communities. Finally, they demand respect for their constitutional rights, including the prior consultation for extractive projects that also are not taking place, and also there's something that they can apply as a transparent legal process, and also advocate for environmental justice that also articulates social and gender equity. These strategies are fundamental in their struggle to build a more just and supportive socioeconomic system that prioritizes collective well-being and environmental protection. In conclusion, women's struggle goes beyond merely environmental, advocating for a change in the socioeconomic and political system that promote collective well-being and the protection of natural resources as the priority. Their activists reflect deep commitment to the preservation of the environment and dignified ways of life for communities. Thank you very much.